I'm going to read a piece published by admin COVID-19 in Speculation or Truth, and I will leave a link to everything that I read in the video. Government of Norway incited for crimes against humanity. Worldwide, there's a fast-growing resistance to the corona policy. Various investigators conduct investigation in collaboration with lawyers and advocates. The second Nuremberg Tribunal is a fact. Its act has been in preparation for months now. This is under the leadership of German lawyer Dr. Reiner Fuellmich, who is currently filing a class action. What is a class action? A class action, also called a representative action or group claim, is a form of jurisprudence in which a large group of people collectively bring a claim before the court, or in which a certain class of defendants is prosecuted. And now, good news from Norway. A group of researchers from Norway have filed a lawsuit against the corona policy. The Norwegian government is being sued for crimes against humanity. A report on this has been sent to the Ålesund police station. A copy of the report is currently being sent to the International Criminal Court and then released on the internet. You can see the Norwegian version of the report sent to the police, translated below. Beginning Norwegian report, and it was filed on the 19th of March 2020. The main review applies to all those listed here in the document, with organisations directly responsible for these: Erna Salzberg and Bent Hoy, the entire government, as well as the entire sorting and FHI, CEPI, WHO, GPMB and other organisations associated with this, as well as co-responsible parties mentioned in the notification below, with the exception of Nuremberg. The notification is also sent with the same word in Nuremberg and The Hague. Copies will be sent for public reading and sent to heavy organisations, all municipalities, doctors, infection control, physicians, bar associations and human rights organisations. It will spread every conceivable social media and world press. In hindsight, it should not be possible to say, I didn't know that. Recall that based on similar evidence in several other countries, a trial was started in Nuremberg, and the trial is now approved and active by the Nuremberg court. Also recalls the following: the Nuremberg law now has an important addition for those receiving this review. Quote, I have only followed orders is no longer valid. Nuremberg Guidelines 1947. Thus the recipient of this review is now protected by their superiors and duties, even to intervene. Thus the recipient of this review is not protected by their superiors and duties, even to intervene on an independent basis and report their knowledge. I demand feedback. On review as soon as possible received, and the highlights are: proven that NIPH own data documents and figures are thereby demonstrably participants in an internationally planned false pandemic, violation of international law and human rights, violation of European Commission's definition of human rights by conceived rules, violation of the Nuremberg and Hague rules on fundamental human rights, violation of the Norwegian constitution on several points. The above is also reported changing the pandemic definition to provoke lockdown. Side note, ask yourself, where did the flu season go? The key word is to change the cipher with a different name. So phrase the flu's registration lighthouse page, change introduction of the COVID-19 in the numbers. See in particular chapter 6 to 7 in the attached document, where the above figures are shown and proven with clarity in their own words collecting evidence is important to secure quickly, then they are demonstrably constantly manipulating and modifying their own documentation. Violation of human rights, additional compulsory vaccine, compulsory health exercise, police and abuse of military force and abuse of these bodies, illegal for lockdown, plans for coercive introduction of vaccine passports, vaccination since freedom of movement and employment are limited, strong without vaccination, and vaccination, is it voluntary then? Refers to pharmaceutical industry statements in the media. This is part of the review and violation of human rights. This is an active attempt at discrimination, movement restriction and freedom of which every person is entitled. This again for a behaviour of a false pandemic as well as forced vaccination with a dangerous vaccine, medical dictatorship. National offences. Penal Code Chapter 17. Our government violates several laws in the Penal Code Chapter. Protection of the independence of Norway and other fundamental national interests by knowingly creating a false pandemic which, with its consequences for people, mental health, healthcare, human rights, and ceding sovereignty to foreign powers as the end goal. Treason of the country. Attached documents prove this with weight and soundness. Foreign power organisation and the UN, EU, WHO and the WEF are clearly some of the driving forces behind this. This is our deposit, and both governments and FHI, CEPI holistically involved in the demonstrably familiar with references to the document, other paragraphs not mentioned, possible other violations of international law, human rights record by the reading of a document by a police lawyer should be added automatically as charges. The level of seriousness indicates, in my opinion, and in viewing this material as I receive, indicates the level of Nuremberg and Supreme Court, police and military are urged to act immediately, secure evidence and stop as demonstrable hostile exercise of power by the people as well as Burj Live. This has major implications for sovereignty and public health and demise of the country's economy, based on a proven false pandemic and lockdown. A bit more of the evidence. The evidence is solid and comes mainly from official sources such as FHI and WHO, which proves a planned false pandemic and in its own number data as well as publication on itself side sources. The context makes the evidence generally solid based on their own sources and materials. At the same time, this proves their involvement and holistic planning among all actors listed above. Chapter 17 of the Criminal Code, Protection of the Independence of Norway and other fundamental nationalities' interests. Violation of the independence and peace of Norway. Imprisonment of up to 15 years is punishable by the use of force, threats or other unlawful acts where constitutes a danger to Norway or any part of Norway, is incorporated into another state, becomes subject to the rule of a foreign state, or a state with which Norway is an ally or in a fighting alliance, war or hostilities are inflicted, be inflicted significant restrictions on their rights and self-determination, or detachment, serious violation of the independence and peace of Norway. Serious violation of the independence and peace of Norway is punishable by imprisonment for up to 21 years. In deciding whether the violation is serious, special emphasis will be placed on whether it has had particular serious consequences for Norway. It has been carried out by organised armed action, exploitation of fear or intervention by a foreign state or by threat of this. The perpetrator is a member of the government, the sorting or the Supreme Court, or belonging to the highest civil or military leadership of the country. The act has resulted in loss or damage and loss of life. It is mentioned, added in the review, mental health consequences, suicide occurred during false pandemic and caused lockdown, violation of the Norway Constitution, anyone who by the use of force, threats or in any other unlawful way endangers Norway's constitution is amended, punishable by imprisonment for up to 15 years. Serious violation of the Norwegian constitution. Serious violation of the Norwegian constitution is punishable by imprisonment for up to 21 years. In deciding if the violation is serious, special emphasis will be placed on the matter listed in Article 112AB. Finally, due to the proven false pandemic, leading to and has led to suicide, medical deaths due to the AstraZeneca vaccine, blood clot refers to recent media. Paragraph claimed that the following paragraph was broken. Also, the above in document review, individuals and organisation as well as the management of the organisation are reported to the subordinate law paragraph. Quote Act, intentional homicide under Penal Code 233, second paragraph, has a prison term of 21 years. End of comment. When I received this document and now with a much more serious update, as I have read it, I have no choice but to pass it on and review it. My motivation for reporting is to save the lives and health of those most affected by this story, children also as a result of anyone being afraid of being humiliated. I do not assume that the review will be submitted by others, therefore I feel compelled to leave to this step despite a huge personal risk, as it is the duty of me and others to save lives. Hence the submitted review. Encouragement to all in Norway, please provide independent police investigation based on this evidence. In sent document, now this stands and falls on each of you who dares to also stand in front, take responsibility and submit the review yourself. This is especially true for the officials. Imagine carefully about whom you are really serving, namely the people, and what the consequences will be now for those of them near and dear. Turn around in time. Finally, take care of your flock. Sincerely, Kenneth Otterelli. And that is the end of the report.